everybody. Welcome to Big Blend Radio with Nancy and Lisa. You just heard every little bit. It is one of the two new singles put out by Raw Terra, and that is the alter ego of musician Richard-D-Andrea. Or should I say D'Andrea? He's going to have to tell us how to pronounce his last name here. We like it, though. Go to rawterra.com, and it's so cool. His music is awesome, and also, I love the whole fact of two singles coming out at once. It reminds me of just having a 45 on the side A and B side. And I always like to start with the B side, but I'm behaving myself and starting with the A side today. So welcome, Richard. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you. Thanks for asking.
Hey. So, let's get the last name correct here, because I like to give everyone a new name, apparently.
Okay. Well, the last name's Terra. No, actually, it's pronounced Andrea.
D'Andrea.
But it's Italian, but I've Americanized it. It's just D'Andrea.
Oh, okay.
There it is.
It's the Elysian, with the D and apostrophe, like D'Artagnan and the Three Musketeers.
There you go. And so, also Raw Terra, the name, I love that, because that just, it's like get in the dirt. There's just like, that's it. It's like, how real can you get?
Well, the story of that is I had a good friend that was in a band I was in called Factor 4, and he was also a housemate. And he had a comic book that he wrote called Raw Terror. The actual words. And I immediately thought Raw Terra, because that's just, I just kind of thought of things that sound like things. And so it was a pretty cool comic book, but that was a long time ago. And I used that as kind of the name for a recording studio. And then I just thought when email came around that I would just use it for my email name. So it just became my nickname.
Wow. Or did you use it back in those DOS days, like everybody in the chat rooms? Like,
no, I was never in a chat room, but I was also not a DOS person. I was a Mac person. So
excuse us. Sorry. He was not playing DOS with his name. All right.
No. I actually didn't get into Windows until it was like 3.1 or something like that. I don't know. I had to, because I was doing multimedia, and I had to do stuff for both Mac and Windows.
Oh, yeah. I know. It's so hard. Like we do that, traveling full time, doing video, sound, all of this stuff that we're doing, magazine production. It's like if you cross over to the one, you're going to have to do it all. Like, do you carry, how much do you carry, when you're traveling? So it's like, it's kind of this. And right now we want to tell Windows exactly where to take number 11. I've got its number 11 for itself.
But I have Windows for gaming, but I don't have 11. I have 10 still.
Yeah, hold on to it and just wait.
I'm trying my best, but it's sneaking in.
They keep doing this
updates, yes. And then, it's like, here comes another update. Meanwhile, it's an upgrade.
Yeah.
And some of it goes through, some of it doesn't. It's just a big... really.
Well, that's interesting, doing, the production too. We were going through computer drama, and some friends of ours, they have the band, the Cravens, and they were recording their music. Obviously, during COVID, everybody started really getting creative and cool, and they were recording, and they had all their new stuff. And as everything was happening, Windows decides to do an update. And he's like, no, you just recorded this. Have you had that moment, like with the computer drama going down while you're recording?
No, because I keep my computer that I do music with, which, it has replaced my tape machines and stuff for the most part. But I still have those, but I have the computer off the internet. So I'm pretty much, I only connect it when I want to do an update. Otherwise it stays off. So I'm not disturbed or, there's no, essentially being distracted, by emails and stuff like that.
Oh, hey, we're getting good tips here. This is very cool.
Yeah. So I'm lucky. I have a really old Mac Pro and it's just off the internet, and it works a lot better that way, I think. I'm on the computer that is on the internet right now, and that's what I do other stuff with. But music, I pretty much don't do on this computer.
Wow, that's a great idea. I like that.
So these two singles, this is part of an album that you're writing?
I hope so. Yeah, the last time I did an album, it took forever to do it. I was in a band, the Roosters United, and unfortunately the lead singer died, and the band fell apart. And at that time I thought, well, I think I should, I've been doing bands my whole life. I think I should just try to do something on my own. So I started recording, and it took forever. I mean, it's not forever, but it took a really long time. So this time I thought I would do a couple of songs at a time as I finished them, and then at the end put it into a collection. I mean, I think they'll all fit together anyway as an album, but that way I could release stuff, more periodically, or
Yeah.
closer to other stuff released.
Well, was that the album Mars 12 Earth 0?
Yeah.
Is that the one? Okay, you're talking about that.
And then after that I put out the same album but without the vocals, because I kind of like the backing tracks a lot.
It's interesting. Yeah, I mean, because there's a lot of people just want the instrumentals,
Well, I was hoping that maybe someone would use it in a TV show or something like that too, if they found something I liked, and then they always ask for the instrumental version, and there they already are.
Oh, that's interesting you say that too, because every little bit, when I first heard of that, I was like, this should be in a show. This needs to be in a movie. It's got that quality with the lyrics. I'm just saying with the lyrics on this, because it's got one of those things where it's reflection, but like you just, it kind of takes me to Shameless, Nancy. The TV. We love Shameless.
Yeah, that kind of.
It kind of has like stuff has gone like it just gives me that little. There's like a little sense of crazy in there.
Well, it was kind of a stream of consciousness as far as the lyrics. I feel like there's a lot of non sequiturs in a way, but it seems to hold together.
Yeah, it's got like a little. I think it's the little crazy part that's got it all tied in together, and I can see it like visually, like being part of like a scene where you're just like, holy crap, did that just happen?
Yeah, because you're dedicated to going down this one path, and one tiny thing happens when you least expect it, so you're not prepared, and you react, and then all of a sudden everything changes.
Yeah. Like just when you thought it was safe to go out,
right?
Every little bit's gonna get you.
That was the idea. How it all builds up.
And then the second song on the B side is "I Don't Need You," and I like that because I'm like, that's it. I'm like, that's it. After the little crazy, I don't need you. I'm done with that.
Yeah,
But this
kind
is
of a breakup song, but I thought of it kind of a snotty breakup song, but not at the time. I thought, I was just trying to get over somebody, and it didn't work, of course, but the song came out of it.
Well, music helps, right?
Yeah,
it does help, and your music has that live wire in it. It's really interesting because you get sucked in immediately, and then it's like, okay, just when you think you're safe, it takes you somewhere else, and I love that part of what you're doing. Yeah, no, because it's it's like you get comfortable with it very instantly, but you don't let us stay in that comfort zone very long, and that's important. Otherwise it'll be we've got to go on a journey. It's an adventure. Music should be an adventure. So are you playing everything on these singles? I
am. Yeah.
Wow.
But not playing the drums. I don't play drums. I'm also living in an apartment, so I can't play drums if I wanted to.
Well, you could, and then then you'd have to go on the road. In the
apartment much longer.
No.
Yeah. Well, it is. That's what happens. But so you've got who's playing drums?
Well, on I Don't Need You, it's Simon Phillips. I got a bunch of performances by him, and I edited it to kind of fit the song. And on the other one, it's kind of programmed.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. So, I mean, because you've been in so many different bands, do you guys help each other out? Like, hey, I need this. Come over, do this.
Actually, in the next couple of songs that I'm going to be doing, Joel, who used to play drums in The No, a band I was in, he's on a couple of tracks. And on the first album, Pete Curry from a band called the Halibuts, and now he's with Lost Straitjackets. He plays drums on a couple of songs.
Sweet.
So it's great if you could play with a real drummer, obviously. But I try to get drum tracks that sound like they're played by a real drummer. I usually think of things in terms of a band playing something rather than an orchestra or a single person.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I was fascinating when it's a bass player's, because I know that's your main instrument, right? Is bass, and then singing.
You need the drums.
Like I always freak out when I see bass players sing. I'm like, how the hell are you doing that? Drummers too. For some reason.
Well, In my case, I'm not doing it at exactly the same time.
Yeah, that would to me
Right.
that helps.
So,
but the bass, to me, do you ever write while you're on bass?
yeah, I have some things that I have written that way.
Yeah, because
It's interesting. If you saw the Get Back movie, McCartney is playing bass, writing Get Back, and he's playing it like a rhythm guitar.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's not playing it like a bass at all. He's strumming 2-note chords for the most part.
Mm. Well, the bass is a cool instrument to me because it's kind of like the wraparound. It's like the drummer sets the pace and will move you up and down in tempo, and the bass is like the glue to me that just wraps around everybody and says, "Listen, we can do this, but I'm going to be the gel so you don't flip out."
Right, right. It's a counterpoint to the melody a lot of times, and also it gives a root to the rhythm too. You know, it gives a pitch to the rhythm that the drums are doing.
Well, I always think too, it's songwriting with the bass makes you stick to the point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like, get on with it. Here it is. This is what you mean.
Yeah,
you know?
if you're playing the flute and you write a song, it's going to be all over the place.
But yeah, you have to also be able to play accompaniment, unless it's a solo, I guess. But you'd have to be able to write something for the accompanying instruments, which might be hard to do on a flute alone.
Yeah.
But I generally write with acoustic, good 6-string guitar.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I mean, because that's so, I mean, to be able to go back and forth between the two, my fingers wouldn't know what to do. Like suddenly,
I think it takes a little
bass.
bit of time to adapt to each one. You know, like when I switch to guitar after playing bass, it takes me a little while to get into a guitar mode.
Yeah, and it's two different sounds and styles and vibes. You know,
and the fingers too. Yeah.
Wow. And now, what about a 12-string? Have you done that?
Yeah, on that song from Mystery Monkey Remix, there's a song I remixed it from the first album, and it's called Monkey See, Monkey Do, and I added a 12-string for that. I just gotten this kind of 12-string Strat-like guitar, and so there's 12-string on that.
Ooh. That I've never been able to, like, wow, that's just too many strings for me. That would be
well, there you play two at the same time, so it's just like a really big string. That's all.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Like what you were saying with McCartney, and playing the 2 strings, and yeah, I get it. But like, I don't know. I'll listen to your music. Just all I know is my fingers are starting to hurt now just on this conversation with how much just,
well, there's even 12-string basses.
No
I've
way.
never played one. I've never played an 8-string bass, but
Wow.
there are 8 strings where 4 should be. So you're having 2 strings like a 12-string guitar, and then there's also a 12-string bass with 3 strings on each one.
Yikes. Wow.
Wow.
Huh.
So where did you get your start in music? Because I know you've played with so many different, musicians and bands. You've, Jeff Wolfe, the Furies. You guys, well, you were in the Furies, but you guys started your band together, the Factor 4. So,
right. That was, yeah. Well, the thing is, in a number of bands here in California, the first band that was like a real band, not a top 40 type of band, which I've been in a couple of those, but the first real band was the Motels. And
wow.
From there, it went to another band with a writer, John Mendelsohn, and it was called The Pits. And then after that, I joined Gary and Joel in the No. And we played the first gig at Madame Wong's, which is like this famous new wave punk place in LA in the mid 70s. And the second band on the show was the Furies with Jeff. So that's how I met Jeff. We played the same first night at Madame Wong's together.
Wow. Have you ever heard of the band Red Wedding or Hey Taxi?
No, I haven't. Where are they from?
They were in LA around the same time as like one of the first punk glam bands, and openly gay punk rock glam bands.
Never heard of them.
They're pretty, you'd like them. I'd love to send you a link to their music. But they're retired from all of that at this point. But
right, yeah,
really good stuff. And went into Soundscapes later, and then unfortunately the guitarist Spiders passed.
Oh yeah.
sadly. But it's just the era of music. It's interesting to me about LA in the 70s, just even talking with Jeff too, about like that whole scene at that time. Because when you think about 60s and 70s, for me, I was in a different area, different part of the world, and very, very young at that point. But, Nancy, you're still like, hey, the Doors and stuff like that. So I always thought of punk when, for me, was in England, when we got to England in the early 80s. We were in mid 80s, that's to me was punk. So all of this pre like 80s is so new to me and so cool. I love it and I hear it in your music. I think that's where that little like wildness is in there. That live wire that I'm talking about, where it's not necessarily punk, but it is.
Right. Yeah.
It's cool.
Well, the interesting thing is that the English scene really started after some American people went over there and played stuff, and they kind of picked it up and refined it a little bit in terms of presentation and style, and then it came back like it was a full scene there. But I think here in New York, anyway, on the East Coast, Richard Hell was doing stuff, and that predated that. And of course, there was the Dolls, and
yeah. Well, I think everybody just had and then disco came in, and everybody went, "What the hell was that?" It's like disco. That's so wild how disco happened, right? Like,
right,
really.
Yeah.
What did you think of disco?
I liked a couple of songs because I like songs that are good songs, and there were a couple of disco. Well, there's probably much more than a couple, but there were a couple of disco songs that I did like. But for the most part, I didn't like it too much.
It's just there are parts of it that you've got to listen to. I agree with you about it may not be your cup of tea. We listen to music all the time, and it's like, oh, I get it, not my thing, but you've got to look and go or listen and go, wow, that's amazing. If someone's done something really
well, yeah,
really,
like
cool.
Marauder's use of the synthesizer and the arpeggiator and stuff like that was pretty cool. The interesting thing I think about disco is a lot of times you think of that kind of octave bass run that goes up and down, and that was actually done first by Bill Wyman of the Stones.
Oh wow,
really? Yeah, you gotta think that. Huh? That's amazing. Yeah.
At least to my knowledge, that was the first person. He was the first musician that played that riff. That kind of octave run. That was to move from one section to another and put movement in otherwise a real steady kind of beat.
Yeah, I think it made it easier for people to dance.
Oh, it definitely was, and also the thing is that a lot of it was recorded music in clubs, and so you could go as loud as you want. There's no feedback. All the sound is perfect. So it was very hard to compete with that as a live band because you always have feedback. You have poor miking. You have
oh God, I know,
bad sounding amps. All sorts of stuff that can happen. And the disco track sounded perfect and really loud.
Yeah, and for live bands, like there was like, here's the stage, and they always put it in the worst part of the room.
Yeah, really.
It's like, I think it's changed up a lot now. I mean,
yeah, sound has gotten so much better, but in the disco days, it was hard to compete with that in terms of just, kind of an entertainment source for people that just wanted to hear a beat, go to a club and hear a beat. It was a lot easier, But I never liked it that much in terms of that because I like bands. So.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's
I like the differences, like that every time you hear a band play the same song, it's still different. I like that. I don't like it's always the same no matter what.
Yeah.
It's kind of like cooking, if you're going to make an omelet and it's always exactly the same, it's boring after a while.
Well, personally, that's the way I feel about live performing. It should be kind of extemporaneous at the same time. It's the song, so you recognize it, but it shouldn't be exactly like you did it, the last set or the last week or the last show or something.
Yeah, it's got to be the journey. Like, to me, music is always about the journey
and the moment.
In the moment, and the listen, and it's two-sided, right? We're back to the A and the B side, right? The listener brings in what they bring in. too. It's that's what I think is so cool about the arts, because it changes every day. You could look at the same painting every day and you'll see something new, and just different lighting, different things of what's going on with a human being as the viewer.
Right.
Same as a listener. Music changes. You could be listening to this song and it reminds you of a memory of this or that, happy or sad. But
and the time of day too.
Yeah, it just is like what's going on now. Or music gets me through everything. I swear to God, like if anybody's like it made me upset, or I'm sad, or I'm happy, or whatever, their music is part of it. And so you have a memory from that, but then you get away from the memory zone, right? And you get into the song. And I think from driving so much, you start to listen to things, especially on the radio, that you don't normally listen to or don't want to. Or
it's
you like
drive
the same
like
thing
according to what you listen to, and it gets a little scary sometimes.
I know. But I listen to things that I've just had enough of, and then I have had to go in and just listen from kind of like just listen to what they did. There's a reason why the song's played a lot, and it's not my thing. And then I'm like, that was pretty badass around that corner, But I think what I like about your music is that it's not a specific style, and it, looking all the different people you've played with over your career, I feel like it's just like you're just like here's what I have, and you don't have to be pigeonholing me in any way.
Well, that would be great if that happened. I don't think that really happens in real life for most listeners, but I feel I do get pigeonholed. But I do like a lot of different types of music, but I like some music, much more than others. So that's probably represented in what I try to play what I like to hear. I've never been one that's going to play what is really popular now. That's what I'm going to play. Because I think if you ever get a hit playing something that's really popular now and it's not something you like, you're stuck playing it for the rest of your life.
Right.
That's a good point.
Right. Like Ryan Bingham, an amazing Americana artist. And he lost his parents, and an album, it was one of his, way up there. And he's like, I have to write another album because I can't play these songs every night and keep going back through that.
Reliving it.
What it represented, trauma. What it came from. Sure.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, oh God, do I have to play this again? Do I have to think about that? So it's kind of hard. And that's, I think, is also hard with music, is a lot of times your personal stories get out there or don't. And some people will say, oh, this is your personal story, and it's not. You know what I mean? You never know where it is. But if you have to relive it all the time, you better like it. You better like it.
I think so. Yeah.
And aren't listeners funny in a way that they always want to listen to something they've listened to before? Like they kind of push for that at concerts, and they go crazy when they're, this one particular song, even though they've heard it for 10 years, that's the one they want. That's almost the one they came to hear. And it's kind of interesting that we're so, like, I don't know if our brains are programmed that way, where what's familiar is the best.
Well, I think that's the thing about pop music, especially, and it's true in art too, but it's probably more specialized. But you always got to combine the familiar with the novel.
Yeah, because
if you just start familiar, it's just too boring. Yeah. And if it's all novel, it's just too
crazy,
too distracting, and
it's work.
You can't really groove with it. So it's got to be this combination. And I think the real big artists have been able to do that, even if they are in different genres and you don't like all the genres. But still, that's the task, is to combine the familiar with the novel.
That's really true.
When I went to art college and I was taught these colors go together, these colors don't, I'm like, oh yeah, let's mix them up. Let's see what happens.
Right.
And and some of the paintings were pretty bad, man. I painted some guy's portrait. He looked like a pumpkin. Seriously bad.
But you had to try it.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, let's do it, and he liked it. And I'm like, wow. He's just very polite. I don't know, but he was very orange. And there's certain things, how can I say, there's a finesse in, or dynamics play a huge part in the arts. Like how much of this, how loud is it? How soft is it? How much paint is going to be of that color mixed with that color? It's
Those little bits. It's the little
Yeah,
bitty
it's the
things.
dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can all tell a paint by number painting because there's no blending, merging dynamics. It's just straight cut off around paint within the lines.
And there's no
And-
quirkiness to it usually.
Yeah.
You gotta have
there's
the
no
quirky.
little thing that makes it very personal to the person who painted it.
Yeah. Like I
Mm.
like artists who put themselves in a painting and then you have to find them. It's cool. Like people do that in music too.
Yeah.
Well, you add mystery to your music.
I love
You
that.
got mystery monkeys. You got mystery
Yeah.
trains. I mean, that's the mystery part. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
Well,
you
life is a mystery.
isn't
And,
it?
we certainly don't have the answers.
No.
No, we just
No.
think we do.
And would be very boring if we didn't know everything all the time. So this is like all a big solo project that you're working on. So are you going to release like the next two and then the next two?
I think so. Or I was thinking there was a possibility maybe of doing 2 or 3 more and then combining it with the first 2 and making that an EP. But that doesn't really affect anyone nowadays because you can just get a single track and just, get that, or you can listen to it for free anyway on, any of the
Spotify gives, and here's your penny.
So, yeah. So, well, it's
For
not,
every
I don't even know
million
if it's
songs.
that much, but
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Right.
0.003.
I mean, an album is just not what it was, where
Oh,
remember
I
there
wish
used to
it
be
was.
a hi-fi ad where a person was sitting down in a chair, grabbing the armrests and his hair is blown back,
Mhm.
listening to something really loud, and you would think they were doing that for the whole album or something, but no one does that anymore. Or no one I know anyway. So it's
It'd be
kind
like,
of a different thing.
watch your ears, and parents going, "You're playing it too loud. I can hear it out of your headphones." And oh man, I'm a big album person. I really am, because I always feel
Especially
like there's
concept album.
Well,
I
on
think-
the Mars album, I didn't know how to start and end it, so I did it with the instrumentals. But after the first song, every song increases in tempo until the very last song, which is a slow song. So I just did that intentionally. So I don't know if you noticed that, but they actually do increase. It's like 11 songs, and 9 of them go just a bit faster each one.
It's like going to a dance.
Yeah.
Like, where you dance faster, but oh no, wait a minute, you gotta take this person home or not. Gotta go slow.
That's right. The last dance is a slow song.
Well, that's why I say you have surprises in there. There's elements of surprise. That's what I like about your music. It's like, okay, we're comfortable, and then it's coming. Now that I know your music, it's like, okay, it's coming. Something's coming. And if you don't put it in there, I'm going to be disappointed, because now I've drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's you've got to have that element of surprise. But I love what you're saying about the comfort, what and then the element of surprise being together. You have to have that balance, and it's really, really true. I think that's in life.
Well, I think that's like the beginning of every little bit. It's like, you hear that first drums and then the rhythm guitar, and you think it's going to be, I don't know, maybe a party song or something, but it's not.
Yeah, and then it changes, But this is the thing about music to me too. Like, you've got that band quality that I love, where it's like it's not overproduced. It's just solid. It's just like, here it is. You're in it. Enjoy it. Where it's not so. You shouldn't have to work as a listener, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know, man.
But
I
there's a
think
bit of it that you should, because you have to
on.
grow. Listeners have to grow.
Otherwise, yeah.
So you when you drink wine, you learn your different. You change as the more you taste, the better at tasting you get.
Lisa.
And no, it's true. And you start to learn different little
Well, you
things.
appreciate the subtleties of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
there is a
But I think you have to hit the listener over the head to some degree too,
yeah.
to get people to listen to you, because there's so much out there.
And it's good. There's a
And
lot
there's
of
so
good
much,
music
that
out there. There
Their
really
attention
is.
deficit is really big, I think, in listeners. Just in all people nowadays, we have so much available.
Mhm.
Well, the stats on, like, because we're a magazine, I look at the stats on how long will a person of a certain age read, and it's amazing to me over the last 20 years.
I would guess it's fallen, but is that not true?
Big time, big time. The attention span to reading an article in print, or where you actually read and somebody's not telling you, it has fallen from, I read for 20 minutes to an hour to 3 hours. People used to read a novel from cover to cover because it was that good in like a space of a day and a half, if they had that kind of time to read.
Well, that's they can't put it down kind of syndrome.
Yeah, well, it has fallen to, if you got more than 30 seconds, you're doing good. I'm like, dude, people, come on.
Well,
really?
Yeah, that's, if you look at read Mark Twain and look at his vocabulary.
Yeah.
And he was writing for the common person.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Look now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, but that,
and I like that you use Mark Twain. He's one of my
Nancy loves him.
Icon. I love Mark Twain.
Yeah. Because it just was the humor too. The humor, the sarcasm,
the satire that half the people didn't get.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's the beauty of it. It's like, it's like, let's go back to wine. You produce a bottle of wine, a novice wine drinker, the first time they've had wine, they're like, ooh, this is good. And then you'll have someone who's like a pro wine taster. I don't know if there's pro wine tasters, who comes in and goes, oh, all these subtleties. The person who's never had wine will go, oh, I get 2 or 3 of those, but not all that. So it's being able to create a bottle of wine that both sides will enjoy.
Yeah.
And eventually the person who's just starting on wine will get to that place. It's about experience. And the more music you listen to, the better, because it's really good for us. And we do have a lot of good music out now. What's played on mainstream radio,
oh God,
I can't stand it.
That's interesting, because I listen to a lot of the songs on mainstream radio periodically.
Mm-hmm. Hotel California.
It just that's the big difference, and it's just like that music is not hand played, except for maybe some country songs, or maybe I guess Ellie King gets a record in once in a while, but most of that music is not hand played. And that's really it's like there's a thing called Diddy TV, and I think it's put out by Tennessee Tourism or something, but it's all Americana and blues and R&B and music that's all hand played by people in bands and solo artists too.
That's awesome.
But they actually play their instruments. They're not pushing buttons to do it. Now, there's nothing wrong with pushing buttons. You're achieving an impact on an audience. You're communicating. But it's not something that I feel I really, resonate with. I really like the playing of instruments. So if I'm going to do a loop, I'm going to play the instrument that's in the loop and make a loop of something I played. I generally don't do that, but I have no problem with doing that if I played something that would be really good as a loop. So I'm not against looping or whatever, but I like the idea of people actually playing instruments.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And now what's really hard, like we travel, so on the road, I'm annoying because I just keep going from channel to channel to hear what's new. And I want to hear something I've never heard before. I'm tired of the same songs. And you can hear as you hit it county line that it will change over and the playlist will repeat. So they're buying playlists on mainstream radio and just playing the same thing. And to me, it's just lost that touch of, they don't even say what it was half of the time.
No,
it's like, there's sometimes you hear music and you're like, oh, I haven't heard that. And it's only university towns seem to have it.
Elevator music.
Yeah. You're generally not listening to a live DJ anymore either.
No,
that's the thing.
You're not.
It's a canned radio broadcast of different music that's been chosen by some program director algorithm or something somewhere.
I think it has got to that because it's not like we've made a couple Spotify playlists just for our magazines because we're doing this whole expansion thing. We're like, oh, we have to have a playlist. And unfortunately, Spotify is the way we're doing it. I would like it where I could actually do it the way like artists will really make money off of it. Would be great. But it's just the way the world is. And I feel like at least people are getting some attention. That's the best I can do on it.
Right.
And so you do it, but we sit and listen to every song.
Yeah.
We place it in the right place. But we want things that people have never heard, and it's the same thing you're saying. Then we have to throw in a Dean Martin or something that people know to bring in the other new stuff. It's like,
Right.
okay, so we have to do that, and so it's an interesting thing. And still, you're not there talking to people. It's just this typical playlist, and yet we're still like crafting in a weird way. But when you're listening on the road and there's no one talking about the band and what they did, oh, did you know when they recorded this happened? Or there's none of that anymore. There is
They
some.
took it all
And like I said,
away.
university towns, I found them, we drive through university areas, we'll get something really cool off the campus or something, but it's a very rare thing. I'd say 80% of what we hear as we drive is
Hotel
programmed
California.
playlist stuff that is in a can,
Right. Yeah.
and it's the
Well,
same
radio doesn't
songs.
break songs anymore.
It's so sad. It's so
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah,
But there's a
not what
lot
it
on the
used to
internet,
be.
and so it's like, but it's about, hey, listen to this. I get excited every time Billy sends me an email. I'm like, look,
New music.
new music. I got to check it out. So I get excited because I want to
Right.
hear new stuff. And you definitely so cool about your music. I can't wait for the next round. So get on it.
And I really believe that listeners want new music too, but somehow, I don't know if it's advertisers marketing that is controlling, oh, we made money on this one, so now play it for the next 25 years.
Yeah.
That they're not actually, are they looking at the sponsors more than the listeners?
Well, I'm sure they're looking at the sponsors because the listeners don't pay them. So they have to be looking at the sponsors. But I think music, in terms of that, in broadcast and whatever, changed when it was pretty much run by small companies. And then it went to the big corporations.
Yeah.
So like the small record labels, were absorbed by the big companies, and the big companies were absorbed by liquor manufacturers. I mean, all sorts of bigger corporations. And it became extremely corporate. And that was a slow thing that happened since the early 60s, probably late 50s, and it's been inexorable, I think.
Yeah.
But definitely in the 60s still, there were regional hits, there were small record labels, and that made that there was a lot of different tastes involved in getting music out. There's a lot of that still too, but it's now much more corporate. There's like 20 people working on one song, crafting it. Like if you look at the credits of a Justin Bieber song, there's like 20 people involved in it. Just to write Peaches. I get my peaches from Georgia. I mean, 20 people had to write that.
Don't start me. Don't jerk.
Okay. But anyway, I mean, that's just an example. It's got a good groove and all that. But I mean, that's the nature of a lot of pop music, but not all, but just a lot.
Well, for you, what you're doing in working on this bit by bit, are you out performing? I know it's different everywhere.
Well, I'm not now. The last time I performed was with the Roosters United band, and then this, as I said, that we broke up, but then the pandemic happened, and there's been no chance to really get a band together. I've never wanted to be like the lead singer or lead guy in a band, even though I put out solo things now. I've always wanted to be part of a band and to be a contributor.
What's it like to put out solo music and work on this together? Because it is different when you're, someone comes into a band format. It's like, here, I got this song, and then there's input, and let's try it this way. Let's take it from there. And then there's arguments too.
Right. Well, that's the negative part of it, is that sometimes, you think you're right. And the other person thinks they're right. And then how do you resolve that? It can get to be serious arguments.
You let your mother win.
Yeah. There's obviously, we've been through that with our stuff, and eventually I just, had to go and do my own thing. But
well, that's kind of what's happened now. It's like, after all these years of different bands and stuff and compromising all the time and whatever, I just think, oh, well, I don't have to compromise. I still am a really big critic of myself. And so that's why I haven't done it sooner. But I just felt it was time to kind of make a statement like, this is what I really like. And, this is how I think it should go. And
we like it too.
There's certainly other ways of doing everything, but just for this, I've tried to do it that way because I've never done it that way before. And so, and I've always written songs and done demos of songs, but they were never meant to be finished products.
It's interesting with musicians because you do work together, whether or not there's drama in between everything that happens.
Oh, there's also beauty.
I come from the art field. Like if somebody dared, and I remember one art professor who painted one painting stroke on one of my paintings, and the whole class went down. Like, oh, you dare to touch somebody's painting and put a painting stroke on their painting. And everybody had a heart attack. Like it was really bad. I was just like, you do that again and watch what happens with my palette knife. You know,
well, music and film is not like that. I mean, it's much
totally
more collaborative.
different.
But I tried to approach it in a solo way, in a true sense of the word. You know, I guess really the whole thing started with me is that when I was really young, I read that Pete Townsend did demos of his songs for the band. And that's how he would convey how a song went, rather than just play it on acoustic guitar or something. He would actually make a demo of it with, you know, with him playing drums and rhythm and bass guitar and singing it. And so they were kind of legendary after a while. And I was just really impressed with that one person could actually do a rock song. That I got myself a recorder and started playing, you know, from one track into another track, bouncing stuff and things like that. And so I just continued doing that. I always thought that was really an interesting way of doing stuff.
Yeah.
When I wrote my first song for the No, that's what I did. I just had a little recorder and I recorded some drum machine that I actually made, and it was just a kick and a snare, and then played a couple of rhythm guitars and a bass on top of it and sang it, and that's how I presented it.
Oh, that's amazing. I mean, to me, because it's like taking on a whole new challenge, right? And really pushing yourself to the ultimate you can do.
But
and every
you know, the best rock songs were just a couple of instruments. They weren't.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, they weren't. So you didn't have to do very many. You didn't have to do a lot of tracks to get a song. You know, that was the great revolution of rock and roll. You could have 3 people or 4 people, and they could be the whole orchestra and singer.
If you kicked ass, right? And that's what I think is so, you have to kick ass. You can't be.
Well, there's always been small bands, but the fact that a small band could make a record like Jailhouse Rock or Heartbreak Hotel, and it's really only a few people playing.
Right. And you know, sometimes when you see rock and pop go and be played by these great big orchestras, I'm not going to name names or anything because I mean, and it's pretty and it's beautiful and it's all well done, but it isn't it.
I want the dirt. That's what I love about your name. I want the dirt.
Like when
you hear it to be gritty.
When you hear the Beatles played by, you know, a huge orchestra, you can recognize the tune, and that's as far as it goes. It isn't. It just isn't. The heart and soul of it is not there.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, I want the Fab Four to play their music.
Yeah, we want the grit.
I want it. Yeah,
that's because that's part of it.
But that's what I think is so cool about how you've done your albums, your singles that we're listening to now. And we've got to go to Mystery Monkey too. We're going to close with that. But to me, it's like it's got that real vibe in there. That we're back to real music. Raw, real, let's go. You feel like you're right there with you performing, but if I listened and didn't know you were doing it all on your own, I wouldn't know. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, so that to me is important. It's like, you just dig the music.
Well, I hear music as being played by a band for the most part.
Yeah,
I think that's a detriment too, because a lot of pop music doesn't sound that way. You know, it's edited together. It's a pastiche of stuff. And
I don't know.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, people respond to it, and that's what you want as an artist. You want people to respond. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not my prime thing or the way I think of things. And I have a friend who's not hampered by that, and he does music where you know, he just he can edit it together, and he doesn't have any problem with that at all. But I always want to feel like it's a band playing.
Yeah, I want the raw vibe. I want that feel. It just, it, to me, I just want to feel like I'm there and listening. And there's something about a band when it starts getting really big, then it's like, it starts to dilute to me, you know? And I'm not anti the big bands because there's some really good stuff going on.
Right.
So I'm just saying, but if I'm like, we just saw our friends like perform, and I can't believe the music's coming out of this band and all of them.
I know.
What 4-piece band? It's like
it
blood,
was
sweat, and
amazing.
tears coming. I mean, that was a good band name too. But what was coming out of there, I'm like, this is 4 people.
It was excellent.
Solidly kicking ass.
Yeah,
And
it was awesome.
it just, there's a heart and soul that goes into it. And that's, to me, when it's so real when you have a smaller band. It just is. It just has that. It just is that, you know.
But I like that in classical music too. I really like quartet music.
Yeah, me too.
You know, it's there's less things going on, and the bigger bands, then they have to do more doubling because you can only have so many things going on. A person can only concentrate or pay attention to really one thing at a time. So a couple of things going on is already a big thing for a human to comprehend.
Yeah.
And then when you get to a big band, then you have a lot of doubling of parts and you know, a whole section playing one thing.
That's why you have a conductor. Somebody's
and that's
got
why
to
you have a
take
conductor
control.
and you have written parts.
Yep.
No,
Somebody's
see, to me,
gotta
they
take
still have to have that
control.
jam, like you were talking about earlier. When you're performing live, you know what you're performing, which gives you the leeway to start to have the jam part and let it go. Let the music levitate. I always like to talk about the levitation station. You got to levitate.
Yeah. Well, you got to have musicians that can do that together. And one person can play something different than they played the last time, and it doesn't throw everybody off.
Exactly. You have to know.
And not everyone can do that, even if they're good players.
That's true.
That's really
so
so
true.
damn
We
true.
know that, don't
In
we?
fact, there's
So
some
damn
kind of
true.
crappy players that can do that, and it makes the band sound really great. And I say
You're
crappy,
really
I
right.
just mean not as good as like session players or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know exactly what you mean.
Yep.
Wow, what a
Totally
conversation.
do.
Who knew what we were going to talk about today? Did we sort out the music world or what?
I don't know about that, but
I know, but listen, really cool getting into your music and having you on the show. We're going to close with Mystery Monkey. It's the remix. And everyone check out rawterra.com. Where's the best place for everyone to get your music? Because it's streaming everywhere, right? And they can download it.
Yeah, it's really wherever they want. I'm starting to do a little bit more with Bandcamp. I just started to put up a couple of songs. So what I might do is off the first album, I released 3 singles. And I was thinking of putting them together just for Bandcamp as, Mars 12, the singles.
Oh, sweet.
But the other song, I mean, it's hard for me to pick songs because I like them all. Otherwise I wouldn't have done them. But anyway, those are the ones I thought I would put on Bandcamp. But it's on Apple Music. It's in, Spotify. I'm not sure about Pandora, although it was presented to them or distributed to them. But Deezer, and it's also available for sale on Amazon Digital and places like that. So it's pretty much around. Or you could email me and ask me.
Yeah, there it is, everyone. rawterra.com.
But there are links on my website. So
everyone can go there. Listen, and by the way, going on Bandcamp is great. I think it's the only place that's really doing good stuff for musicians, like actually getting paid. And Fridays, everybody that purchases on Fridays, all the money goes to. There's like a Bandcamp Friday. I don't know if it's every Friday, but there's Bandcamp Friday because all I know is that Friday, all my friends on Facebook are like, "It's Bandcamp Friday, buy now." Because we actually get the money.
Well, I noticed something that was about Bandcamp giving away to different charities or organizations, and I signed up for that.
Oh,
so
see, that's cool.
Yeah, I really like that idea.
And so Bandcamp, everyone, is a good place to purchase from. It's like books. Amazon's, everybody's like buys everything from Amazon, from dog food to books, to music, to whatever else, sewing equipment, you never know. However, there's also like bookshop.org. We just signed up with them to put all the authors that are on our shows up on bookshop.org because 50% of the proceeds go to independent bookstores to keep them around. And it's like, I feel that way about record stores. We were in Asheville a couple days ago, Asheville, North Carolina. I went downtown and literally I'm texting our friend. I said, "Oh, we're parked by a record store." And then I looked around and I was like, there was 2 record stores across the street from each other. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. 2 record stores right there on one street, right next to each other. Where do you see that anymore? I get very excited about that kind of thing. And we need to keep them around. Record stores, bookstores.
Record stores and bookstores, sure.
And candy. Yeah. And candy stores too. Just saying. We all want penny candy. All right. But thanks so much, Richard. It's been a real pleasure. Everyone, rawterra.com. Also, we want to give a shout out to our sponsor of today's show, which is the National Parks Arts Foundation. They totally rock. Musicians, artists, filmmakers, writers, poets, whatever, ceramicists, textile arts, visual arts. This is an incredible organization. Every first Friday, we interview artists that are part of their residency program. They have an very unique arts residency program, from staying in a month in Death Valley National Park to dry tortugas in the Florida Keys, Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. Haleakala is the newest one, Haleakala National Park.
Awesome.
They have this beautiful house in Hawaii where you stay there overlooking the ocean. You can actually bring your partner with you or your family. This one, you have to submit now. I like saying that. Everybody submit now. I'd say apply now would be a good word. Go to nationalparksartsfoundation.org. You can stay for a month in this beautiful house with a recording studio and a dance floor, and get a $3,000 stipend when, if you are awarded this wonderful residency. But they have them all around the country: Chaco Canyon, in northern New Mexico, Big Bend, Texas, you name it. So just check them out, nationalparksartsfoundation.org. If you're an artist, musician, or if you're a patron of the arts and want to donate, again, they're amazing. So keep up with them there. And of course, keep up with us at bigblendradio.com. Thanks, Richard. Have a wonderful holiday season.
And to both of you, too.
Thank you.
Everybody's got to have a game. Big shot, hip hop. Everybody's trying to make a name. Gangland, big plans. Run to catch the money train. Hangman, gun hand. It's all water going down the drain. Monkey do, see no evil, you've got no clue. Everybody's so religious, going round their monkey business. Monkey see, monkey do, there ain't no evil and speak no truth. Only love can conquer hate. The whole damn world is going ape. Prophecies and is going ape.